So, not too much to cover today. We have the Aquilops video, and then we can look at the species profiles on the website. We never actually checked these out, so it's worth looking at, I think. So let's check out the video first. Now, I looked on Reddit, because sometimes I like to check Reddit ahead of time to see if anybody saw any, like, little Easter eggs or anything like that, or identified something interesting in the videos. There hasn't really been anything that has come up for that so much in this JWE3 release for Rebirth. But one thing they pointed out is that these guys here with this release animation allows you to size these. These are smaller than Microceratus. They're actually the smallest like herbivore in the game, probably. Which it didn't necessarily occur to me that that might be the case. I felt like the Aquilops was a little chunkier than Microceratus, just mentally thinking about the films. But that appears to not be the case here. These guys are, in fact, a little smaller. So that'll be interesting. They'll be disappearing into the grass a lot. We're seeing some different patterns here. Unpatterned, and this one is patterned with this more like brown stripes along the body. That's not true for this. These are only stripes on the tail. So something I've been really wondering about is how they'll be handling the patterns on these guys, because I want ideally the pattern to be the film pattern but allow it to be recolored. This is different. This guy right here looks a lot like the Dominion Iguanodon. So there's a few possibilities. It's hard for us to see his tail because it's at this awkward angle. So I can't tell if the stripes on his tail are the same as the stripes on the tail here. They could do a thing where the unpatterned version looks like this, the stripes being part of the base color, and then adding the pattern adds these stripes. I'm pretty sure this isn't a male. The frill doesn't look big enough. But, yeah, this might be the first sign that we have a pattern that doesn't match the film skin, which disappoints me. But it's very close to it, which is weird. Okay, wait, this is the reverse shot. Okay, so here, yeah, we see the stripes on the tail of this one without the back patterning. This one has this patterning that matches the body. That could be a male, maybe. That frill is maybe big enough to be a male. It could be male and female patternings, but we should have seen that already, right? We should know that. Interesting. Okay, we're going to jump over to the website quick. Spoiler for what we're looking at later, of course. But I wanted to check this because I was very curious about it. And yeah, you can see that the stripes continue down the body of the male here, the whole length. And as best as we could see on the female, she's not striped. So I think we're using the Dolores pattern as the female pattern, and the male pattern is this stripier one, which is great. That means the film pattern might actually be preserved as the default patterning for the female. All right, back to the video. That's a very amusing animation. Little dirt bath. I like that animation a lot. This whole like meerkat scout look of like just, you know, rearing up to like look into the distance. What would make me really happy. One of the things I want from this game. I've harped on this before, I'm gonna do it again. Different kind of behaviors for different animals. If a herd of Aquilops would have a designated scout, would have one Aquilops that stands in this like sentry pose and like watches over the herd while the rest of them browse. That would make me so happy. That would be so cool. It's little behaviors like that like it wouldn't be hard to program, right? If you had just a little bit of like AI linkage in the herd, which, you know, they already kind of follow each other around, at least in somewhat, so that kind of tech exists in the game. You expand that out to some animation stuff, so that if the herd collectively decides, you know, it's like feeding time, you have some designated scout. Better yet, make it the alpha. The alpha Aquilops stands guard over his pride while they feed. That would be so cool. I would love that. Because that's a great little animation. It's got so much character into it, and it like it tells a story. It tells a story if there's, you know, ideally more dudes here hanging out and he's watching over them. By itself, less so, but yeah. I mean, I like this guy well enough. It's a little fella. He's gonna blend into the grass. But I've always liked the little fellas. Some people really hate the small dinosaurs because you can't see them when you're playing the game. I don't mind that. I'm fine with that. I like having small guys to thread in amongst the bigger guys that you only really notice as little blips moving through the grass, or if you really zoom in on them. This doesn't bother me. I'm perfectly fine with it. And I am a strict adherent to all film canon animals should be present in the game in the way they look in the films, including variants. So I would never want to exclude a guy from the game for being small. That would just be rude. So the dinosaur page on the website actually has all four animals already. Why does the Distortus? I think it does a thing. Hold on, we're refreshing this page. It doesn't do a thing. Okay, I swear to you, I swear, I swear on my life, when I booted this page up, there was like a static effect over the Distortus, and you couldn't even like make him out. But now he's just here. So I guess I dreamt that. I'm having a stroke. But yeah, let's just start with the Aquilops because that's the one we're already looking at, and go through here and look and see if there's any interesting information on the page. These do send as a do wow words. These do serve as a very good way to see like the family unit, like separate from the environment, to actually make out some of the differences a little more easily. As we already solved, we determined what the patterning is here for the male versus the female. A relatively small herbivore, the Aquilops is an early Cretaceous ceratopsian whose fossils were first discovered in southern Montana. It gets its name meaning eagle face from the distinctive beak snout, which it uses to slice through and chew low-growing vegetation. Fossils were discovered in 1997 by Scott Madsen. Species was not formally described and named until 2014 by Andrew Farkey. I'm sorry if I butchered your names, guys. This finding is significant to paleontology as the first basal ceratopsian found in North America. In the modern day, it was synthesized at a secretive research facility on Ile Saint-Hubert, which remains its only known territory. This is interesting. This is strongly implying. Well, this is not strong. This is stating factually and plainly that Aquilops is categorized alongside, you know, Distortus and Mutodon as a Saint Hubert exclusive animal. That this guy wasn't on Sorna, it wasn't on Nublar, it wasn't in Jurassic World. Which is not against anything in the films, right? That doesn't, there's no information that says that's not true. But it is weird to me, because, like, obviously this island has Parasaurolophus, Dilophosaurus, Tyrannosaurus. Wow, my overlay is coming back. my streaming shit is on was on maintenance. Look at there, just popped, the other one popped in. Okay, cool. I guess that's good. Anyway, so it's weird to me to like say explicitly like Aquilops was this is the first place it ever existed. Like we don't actually necessarily know that, right? Unless like this is coming directly from Universal, which is possible, and that they do have they feel that way and that it serves some purpose in the grander lore. It probably doesn't, but whatever. Paleoecology is a small ceratopsian that were prey for many contemporary predators in the early Cretaceous environment, including Velociraptor, Acrocanthosaurus, and Deinonychus. Was it though? Was it though? Did it tell us where it was found in North America? Yeah, Southern Montana. Southern Montana. Velociraptor. No. Uh-uh. Nuh-uh. Acrocanthosaurus in Montana, also dubious. From what I remember, Acrocanthosaurus is slightly weird in the sense that, um, well, it's found from the southern U.S. There's East Coast fossils that are attributed to Acrocanthosaurus. And I think that's a little bit debated because of the geographic range of that being dubious. That they're probably just, an animal related to Acrocanthosaurus that hasn't been formally or distinctly classified. But yeah, this just feels like, hey, what are the animals in the game that we would associate with this? I guess these. This doesn't seem very accurate. Modern observations of the animal are rare due to its sole synthesis on a discrete island facility. Again, driving that home. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe Universal has a plan, but I doubt it. Reports have described it as sociable and curious. This is probably a description of its in-game behavior because we only ever saw the one in the film, so to call it social was dubious. I guess it was social with, the little kid, so that kind of does count. Diet doesn't give us much info, just ground paleobotany. And yeah, like obviously, yes, of course. 2 to 3 batch size. I don't know why they do this. Why do they do these small batch sizes for these like little guys? I feel like this is the same thing with Microceratus. It's like if you want to put a bunch of these in your park, if you want like 20 Microceratus, if you're doing like a novel park, you have to do 10 goddamn batches of those guys. Very silly. This bothers me actually a little bit because like these guys I feel like should be like the copies where you've got, 40 of them in a pen running around mixed in amongst your other dudes. And it gets really tedious to try to do that with this like small batch size. Oh well. I also I bet you, I bet you this is just copy pasted from the micro. This is the thing with DLCs in these games. You can tell in some cases the animals use some other base game animal stats as a template, and some parts of that don't change. I forget specifically in JWE2 what animal it was, but there was a pretty egregious example of that where it was very clear that like, oh, this is just copy pasted from a different animal. It was some particular, numeric parameter that was very particular that like matched a different animal in a weird way. Um, so that's probably, what's going on there. Can we just do arrows? Yeah, but it takes us alphabetically. That doesn't work. Distortus. Let's just jump right to this dude. Mr. Distortus Rex. Not my favorite. The Distortus Rex is words are hard. The Distortus Rex is the result of an experimental genetic engineering on Ile Saint Hubert's Island Research Facility. Due to several unexpected abnormalities, the Distortus was deemed unfit for public display. Was it, or was it always an experimental thing? I guess we got to go with what's written here. It remained on the island for study, exhibiting polymelia. This specimen has 6 limbs, include 2 hind limbs, and 4 arms, a pair of smaller arms mid-torso, and 2 powerful primary arms on which the Distortus holds much of its weight while walking. This would realistically never work for a theropod. That they would walk on their hands. This was a thing for certain depictions of Spinosaurus in like the mid 2010s, right? Like 2016 or something, Spinosaurus, where he's knuckle walking. It's not really viable. It's always bothered me how much the Distortus's profile looks like a gorilla. But this is ancillary to the game. Obviously, in the game, it's going to be walking like it does in the movie. This animal is immensely powerful and unpredictable. Treat with the utmost caution. This is, of course, talking about the fact that he can't be sedated and maybe some other behaviors in the game. Who knows? Discovery. As a result of confidential experimental research, the Distortus Rex's specific date of conception or discovery is impossible to determine. Why do those records not exist? Fair enough, I guess. Well, I guess it tells us right here. Any records were lost during the critical containment breach on the island that led to the mass evacuation of the island, and there are few surviving technicians to tell this new genus tale. Except this is a prequel DLC, so like this hasn't happened in the context of the game. because we're running the facility without it breaking out. So that's kind of weird. Like, from the perspective of us in the game, we know when this was made, right? Because this is just saying the records were lost when it escaped, and that just is in the future. That hasn't happened yet. Paleoecology. Very little ecological research on the Distortus was ever conducted, and much of its behavior is still unknown. Workers did report, however, that the animal often proved unpredictable and extremely aggressive. There have also been reports that the Distortus responds to strong stimuli, like bright lights and loud noises, but no formal study of this was ever recorded. This is here because this chases the flare on the Jeep, which is the only way you can relocate the animal because it can't be sedated. Now this is interesting. Era Holocene, of course. Genus Distortus Rex, but the family is mutant. I saw this earlier when I realized the Distortus page was here. So this has been a weird thing with the Rebirth, right? The insistence that the Distortus and Mutadon are mutants and not just hybrids that came out slightly wrong. I guess the moniker of mutant is arguing more that like they are expressing unexpected characteristics versus something like an Indominus that is exactly what it was intended to be, I suppose, is the idea. But yeah, I wonder if there's going to be any gameplay consistency with being classified as a mutant, like in terms of the research to unlock it or something. That's something I've kind of wondered, right? Like, the existing hybrids are unlocked in the research tree by doing their prerequisite species, right? You want the Indominus Rex, you have to get T-Rex and Velociraptor DNA. I wonder if it's going to be the same thing here, if Distortus is going to be, T-Rex and Titanosaurus or something, or if it's just going to be unlock T-Rex and you can unlock Distortus. That's always been like a weird thing with this animal, right? Is whether or not it's part sauropod. Because it's got, of course, the bubble head, but the Titanosaurus kind of has this too. And having pillar-like front limbs is very sauropod. And I believe there's concept for this animal that explicitly states that it is part sauropod, but whether or not that's considered to be true in the film is completely ambiguous. So there could be something to that. It would be interesting to see what the research tree looks like. That's all I'm saying. Mutadon. I don't know. The pronunciation was just funny to me. Mutadon. Mutadon is a genetically engineered species created as part of experimental research to engineer new animals for exhibition. They display the physical and behavioral qualities of both Velociraptor and Pteranodon. From recurved killing claw talons to pterosaur-like wings that allow them to fly, control and containment may prove challenging due to their intelligence and versatile movement capabilities. Again, this is referencing the fact that in game they can only be contained in the new open air aviaries, because if they're in a enclosed aviary, they freak out because they feel contained. And yeah, this here implies like a Velociraptor Pteranodon hybrid in game, which may be true. Although it does say technically physical and behavioral qualities of Pteranodon, not necessarily that it is Pteranodon, just that its behavior and shape evoke Pteranodon, right? But I suspect it will be a Pteranodon hybrid. Pioneering and extremely experimental research on Ile Saint Hubert resulted in few species that survived to adulthood. This is kind of implied by the tanks in the lab, right? With like two-headed Triceratops and stuff like that. But the Mutadons provided a relatively stable genus. While they were a success in that sense of Velociraptor intelligence, combined with agility on both ground and air, led to their classification as unfit for public exhibition. I continue to refuse to believe that these guys can fly, in terms of their anatomy. Due to this, little is known about the genus besides the remaining data that survived the Ile Saint Hubert mass containment breach incident. The Mutadons have proven to be calculating problem solvers, capable of adapting their hunting behaviors and identifying non-direct routes to pursuing prey. This intelligence makes it difficult to keep them contained for long, and many reports of their behavioral capabilities arose from such breaches. Workers are advised to exercise extreme caution around this species. Again, family is mutant. Genus is Mutadon, Era Holocene, kind of expected outcomes there. Carnivore and live prey, this has been confirmed that this animal does not eat fish. May this our first true terrestrial hunter in the aviary, as in actually requiring specifically terrestrial prey to be happy. Of course, the Asdarchids can hunt live prey, but they don't require it, right? That's my point here. This is the first guy that genuinely requires it. Have we seen this picture before? Probably. Maybe not. Huh. Did the Distortus have any pictures? Oh, this flare one. We've definitely seen this. I realize these are partly clipped off the screen, but they're not terribly important. Aquilops had, yeah, like the new family unit picture. That's expected. All right, Titanosaurus. Yeah, look at the family unit. See, here they look very much the same size. I'm pretty sure it was just a deception because of the angle of these guys in their reveal video that made them look heavily dimorphic in some shots. Um, they don't look so differently sized here. Among the last giant sauropods to walk the Earth in the late Cretaceous, the humongous Titanosaurus was created in the modern day on a secretive island facility. Besides its remarkable size among de-extinct animals, I saw some people talking about this. Is this actually bigger substantially than the sauropods we have? Because it's kind of supposed to be in the film franchise. But it's really ambiguous in game if this is actually all that much bigger than like Patagotitan. The thing is, that bothers some people a lot. That doesn't really bother me because Patagotitan is non-canon. The real comparison would be Dreadnoughtus. Because this should certainly feel bigger than Dreadnoughtus. It features several unusual characteristics among sauropods, namely a long whip-like tail and two sets of short sails along its spine. To call this unusual, like it is unusual because it's two sets of short sails that are disparate in different places. Technically, having sails as a sauropod is not that unusual, given that Amargasaurus and Bahatosaurus exist. Nitpicking, though. Discovery fossils of the Titanosaurus were first discovered in 1828 in India by Captain William Henry Sleeman. Is this the origin of the term Slee Stack for some dino media? Land of the Lost specifically. Like, is this where they got the Slee and Slee Stack? Anyway, unrelated to Jurassic World. You consider them curiosities. The bones were passed between various experts for roughly 50 years, but it was Richard Lydecker in 1877 that truly described and identified those bones as the remains of a previously unknown species. The Titanosaurus holds the honor of being the first Indian dinosaur ever named. So this is confirmation that the Titanosaur dig site in game is going to be in India, and that the Titanosaurus is intended to represent the real animal, the real Titanosaurus in the real world, which was always somewhat ambiguous. Obviously, it shares the exact name, but Titanosaurus is the kind of name that would be easily fabricated for a movie on accident. Like, they would just accidentally invent an animal that matches the real animal's name and not, like, notice. But, like, it was probably always going to be this, right? It was probably going to be intended to be the real animal. But there was a possibility. Yeah, Titanosaurus is kind of interesting, right? This is, like, a very fragmentary animal. It's coming from India, which is a place that's not overly known for fossils, and then it's, the gestation of the name Titanosauria, right? It like names the whole family group, despite being a very like limited, very poorly understood animal, very limited fossils. Also being an animal from the 1800s is kind of fun. We got a lot of early animals like Iguanodon in the game, but it's always interesting to see more of these like almost classic dinosaurs in a sense, right? Paleoecology. The late Cretaceous environment that the Titanosaurus evolved into was diverse in both flora and fauna, but was also a hotbed. But was also a hotbed of volcanic activity. A hotbed of volcanic activity. I believe there is a missing word there. Due to various eruptions at the time, I believe this is the Deacon Traps eruptions, right? Thought to be, at least at some times, thought to be a contributing factor in the extinction of the dinosaurs. Alongside the meteor. Due to the various eruptions, it's believed that most late Cretaceous dinosaurs in this environment went extinct long before the Cretaceous-Paleogene mass extinction event that killed most other dinosaur species. I don't know if this is considered to be true. I don't know if this is actually a fact. If, like, like the Indian subcontinent animals were considered to be extinct before the end of the Cretaceous. I mean, it's certainly possible. If your whole, like, landmass erupts into lava, you probably don't survive, right? Little is known of the paleoecology of modern titanosaurs due to their sole synthesis in a classified research laboratory. Again, same thing as the Aquilops, saying this animal didn't exist anywhere else. I find that more understandable and believable because this is a somewhat weird animal, unlike the Aquilops, which is fairly standard. I lost my spot. Yeah, here. The few reports that have made describe them as social and peaceful animals, tolerant of smaller species in their territory. I think there was a comment in one of the YouTuber videos that the titanosaurs cohab with other sauropods, which gives them kind of a unique niche. You can, I don't know if it was everything or if it was just a few. I believe specifically it was called out that titanosaurs can cohab with patagotitan if you want like a mixed titanosaur herd, which is kind of cool. Diet tall, paleobotany, nothing more specific than that. Egg batch size 1, like expected. But then yeah, we got a variety of little screenshots here, but I think we've seen all these before. They all look pretty familiar to me. Yeah, good look at the family units and stuff there. All right, well, that's kind of everything we have today. I actually took longer to get through these pages than I thought it would. One reveal video left with the Distortus. And I wonder if we're going to see much of the variants before release, because so far we haven't really seen much. We haven't seen the Rex at all, and I really, honestly, the Rex variant is probably the thing I'm most excited for in this. I really like the Rebirth Rex. I like that big chunky Rex, so I really want to see what that looks like, especially the patterns outside of the film skin. Anyway, that'll be it for this video. Till next time.